যদিও একটা জিনিসও আমরা কি আর এত ভালোভাবে টেলিস্কোপ দিয়ে দেখতে পারতাম? ইন্ডিয়া থেকে দেখা গেল, কিন্তু এইরকম ভাবে তো আমরা দেখতে পেতাম না টেলিস্কোপে। এটা একটা অসাধারণ, এটা অসাধারণ দৃশ্য। সেই গানটা দিয়ে শুরু করলাম, সুরজ কবু দূর গগন সে। এই বলছি রায়ান লিখেছে, রেহান লিখেছে, দাদা আজকে সূর্যগ্রহণের সাথে, আচ্ছা ওটা পড়লাম আমি। প্রীতম দ্য লিজেন্ড দাদা খুলনা থেকে। মোহাম্মদ শোয়েব হোসেন লিখেছে হাই শেরপুর থেকে। কালারিং মুভমেন্ট লিখেছে হাই। মোহাম্মদ সাদ লিখেছে, দাদা আপনি আমার কমেন্টস পড়েন না কেন? এরকম ভাবে বললে হয় না, এখানে প্রচুর কমেন্টস আসছে, 2,500 লোক দেখছেন, যেরকম যেরকম কমেন্টস আসছে না, আমি কারুর কমেন্টস আলাদা করে পড়ার বা না পড়ার কোনো ব্যাপার নেই। এটা অনেকে লেখে হয়তো ভাবে যে কমেন্টসটা পড়বে, তারপর এখানে হয়তো চলে আসি, তারপরে কমেন্টস বেরিয়ে যায়, হয় অনেক সময় হয়। যাই হোক,
This is incredibly rare, and people have traveled from all over the world to share in this spectacular moment right here at the crossroads of the eclipse. Now, Gina, we were lucky enough to be here last year for the annular solar eclipse. How does it feel to be back?
You know, the annular was such a spectacular experience, but I'm already feeling even more energy today, and
It's
I'm
like
so
double the
excited
crowd.
to be here. It is. Yeah.
No, and we have a full day of celebration in store. You know, the town really turned out for this event. This morning we heard from the mayor, and we are surrounded with food and shopping and different activities. I think I saw the Texas State Astronomy Club here giving out free telescope viewings. So it's just a really, really special moment for people to come together and enjoy this celestial event.
It's right to hear it. And you know, we had some cloud coverage today. It's looking to be pretty good.
It's going back and forth. So, you know, fingers crossed.
Regardless of how this turns out, we have live music and dancing afterwards, so it's going to be a good day.
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, this is going to be my first total solar eclipse.
Awesome.
And so last year was incredible with the annular. Folks, if this is your first total solar eclipse, let us know in the comments wherever you're watching. We'd love to hear it. So this is also a good time to remind everyone that it is not safe to look directly at the sun without specialized eye protection for solar viewing. Now that is except during the brief phase where the moon is completely covering the sun, and that will only be for those in the path of totality. Now we have a special guest that you might recognize popping in to share some important tips to make sure you stay safe during today's events.
Hi Eclipse enthusiasts, Lance Bass here, and I want to tell you how to protect those eyes and stay safe during a solar eclipse. During these celestial events, the sun, earth, and moon are in sync, creating solar eclipses. You can look directly at the sun during a total solar eclipse, but only when it's completely covered by the moon for a brief period known as totality. This is a really special moment. At all other times, you should wear eclipse glasses so that you don't say bye 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 to your vision. Seriously. And eclipse glasses are not the same as regular sunglasses. No, they're not. Safe solar viewers are thousands of times darker and will have a specific certification that you should look for right here. Don't be a space cowboy and try to look directly at the sun. If you don't have eclipse glasses, you can use an indirect viewing method, like a pinhole projector. You can make one of these with something as simple as an index card with a hole, or a colander, or even your hands. With the sun at your back, you can safely project an image of the sun through the hole onto a nearby surface like the ground. It's gonna be me who is wearing my eclipse glasses, and so are you.
Now, you can't have an eclipse without the sun, the moon, and the earth. And as you heard from Megan and Sarah earlier, we've been hosting a friendly competition to see which one of these three teams that you're siding with today. Now, Gina, I feel like it almost goes unsaid here, but I have to ask. I don't want to assume. Which team are you repping today?
You probably were going to guess sun.
Oh,
Team Sun.
Who would have thought?
You're right.
No.
So heliophysics, it's the study of the sun and its influence on everything. And it impacts all of our planets. And today, the solar corona is stealing the spotlight of the show. So Team Sun for me.
I guess it really is the star of the show today. But you know what, Gina? I think I'm going to have to be a little bit biased too.
Okay.
So International Observe the Moon Night, which is NASA's annual celebration of all things moon, actually falls on my birthday this year.
Okay.
So I think I'm having a little bit of a lunar connection.
All right, Team
But
Moon.
for those watching, if you haven't joined the fun yet, you can vote for your eclipse team on NASA's solar solar system, Facebook, X, and Instagram. We're going to be sharing those poll results throughout the show, so be sure to go vote for your team. Now, also during the broadcast, you can send us questions using hashtag Eclipse on social media. We have teams standing by online to answer, and we're going to be taking some of those questions live on today's show. Now, speaking about taking questions live, Gina, we actually had some kids send in videos before today's show.
Oh, nice.
So let's roll one of those right now.
My name is Jonathan. My question is, will NASA do any experiments during the solar eclipse? Thank you.
Oh, great question, Jonathan. Now, we have a bunch of different experiments that will take place during the eclipse today. So first, we're trying to study the solar corona. So we have NASA's WB-57 high-altitude research jet flying across the path of totality, taking pictures of that upper atmosphere of the sun, that corona, so that we can learn its composition, why it gets to be heated to extreme temperatures. But we also care about the eclipse's impact on Earth and the upper atmosphere. So we're launching 3 sounding rockets up into the atmosphere before, during, and after peak eclipse so that we can study how the atmosphere is changing as well.
So, you know, we're studying it with a plane, we're studying it with rockets.
Exactly.
Any other way?
You know, we have balloons, science balloons that are going up too, and we also have different ways that the public will be able to get involved in some of these experiments too.
Thanks, Gina. And I actually have a great follow-up question to this. This is from Lisa on Facebook, who wants to know more about the sounding rockets. So they ask, why is NASA shooting rockets into the moon's shadow during today's events?
Okay, let's talk more about the sounding rockets because they are a lot of fun. So the first sounding rocket will be 45 minutes before peak eclipse. The next one during that peak eclipse, and the final one after 45 minutes.
Solar eclipse in 2024. We're talking about crossroads, you know, we get it twice.
Two eclipses right here, right where I stand. Well, it's statistically
পূর্ণগ্রাস সূর্যগ্রহণ আজ 50 বছর পর বিরল এই সূর্যগ্রহণের সাক্ষী হতে চলেছে বিশ্ব। এ সময় সূর্যকে পুরোপুরি ঢেকে ফেলবে চাঁদ, ফলে দিন হবে পূর্ণগ্রাস।
every time I talk about it.
Hear that intake of air and it was the most beautiful natural thing I've ever seen. So to have an eclipse basically in my backyard is just, it's indescribable.
We're here now with Catherine Troche, a telescope operator with the Night Sky Network, who is giving us these high-definition views of the sun that you see in your screen right now, of the eclipse over Kerrville, Texas. Kat, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and let's thank the weather for cooperating finally.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Kat. And so I'm looking at the telescope feed that we have, and we have first contact now here
Yes.
in Kerrville.
Yes.
Okay, so for people who want to become an amateur astronomer, what advice do you have? Where should they get started?
The easiest way to get started is to look up Night Sky Network. Night Sky Network has over 400 astronomy clubs in the United States. You would just use our search function to plug in your city and find the club that's closest to you. And if you don't have a club that's close to you, you can use our coordinator tips to start your own astronomy club.
Wow,
That is awesome. And you know what? For folks, if you want some more details on the Night Sky Network and other things on how to become an amateur astronomer, you can visit go.nasa.gov/Night Sky Network. Now, a fun fact about today's broadcast that I absolutely loved learning was that so many of our telescope views that you're going to be seeing today are from amateur astronomers. And so, Kat, again, on this topic of, sky gazing, I heard that those in the path of totality might be able to witness more than just a total solar eclipse today. Could you give us a sneak peek on what we could expect?
Absolutely. So if we have clear skies in the path of totality, as it gets darker, you'll start to see two bright points of light. That would be Jupiter and Venus. And then as we get to totality, you'll be able to see the fainter planets, Saturn, Mercury, and Mars. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to catch Comet 12P.
Man.
Great. So for the amateur astronomers that actually want to view today's celestial event, what tips do you have for them?
So, of course, you need to have solar protection, you need to have solar-safe glasses, and you need to have solar filters for your telescopes, your binoculars, your cameras. But you can also use indirect viewing, like a pinhole projector box, or you can use a disco ball.
A disco ball?
Yes.
Wait, how does this work? Can you, walk us through this?
So as the sun hits the mirrors, and it'll cast a little reflection on.
From Texas to Maine, a celestial spectacle taking over.
Totality time.
A total solar eclipse where the moon completely blocks the sun, casting its shadow on the Earth's surface. The path of totality spanning 15 states, more than 2,000 miles long.
You guys ready for the eclipse?
Yeah! Millions of eclipse chasers traveling for a front row seat.
We're coming from Florida, so that way we can see the solar eclipse because it's once in a lifetime.
And my seatmate on our flight to the Buffalo Niagara Falls region.
So you woke up at 4:30 this morning.
Yep. Retired teacher Rebecca Causey from Greensboro, North Carolina, booked her adventure a year in advance to experience a total solar eclipse for the second time.
Why do it for a second time?
It's magical, it's fun, educational.
Local economies seeing a massive boost.
Travel to this eclipse is beyond the previous eclipse. Searches peaked at up over an 1,100% increase. Economists are predicting that people are going to spend $1.5 billion.
And of course, you won't want to forget these guys, special solar glasses to protect your eyes, even if you aren't in the path of totality. Rena Roy, ABC News, Niagara Falls, New York.
Yes, I do have my glasses. I'm using the other part for my lens on my phone. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you. Yeah, if I didn't have this lens on my phone, guys, you couldn't see nothing. It would be too bright.
Victor, code 6 on a possible.
Is shining over there, Glenn, in Belgium? Thank you for the stars. Thank you, Anthony, for the hearts. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Yes, that's the sun. Right now is getting, this is the solar eclipse. The sun is going over the moon.
Okay, copy your alarm.
Watching from the Philippines. Nice. Colorado. Joe, you're going blind? It's covered. If I take it off, you couldn't see nothing. Yeah, it's covered.
In the morning commute.
What's happening today? Escalating tensions in the Middle East.
What people are talking about, the migrant crisis.
Fast, straightforward.
Total eclipses occur when the moon passes directly between the Earth and the sun, blocking solar light. Since 1900, only 12 have touched the U.S. mainland, most of them only glancingly.
Cinco errores a evitar si buscas un trabajo remoto. 1. Buscar en sitios generalistas. Las mejores ofertas se encuentran en un mercado oculto formado
por la de ciencia Noelia González y el experto de la NASA Jerónimo Villanueva, quien contestará las preguntas que nos envíes a través de nuestras redes sociales. Prepárate. Estás a punto de experimentar el eclipse solar total de Norteamérica de 2024.
Hola y bienvenidos a esta transmisión de NASA en español, en donde estaremos observando el eclipse solar total de hoy junto a un científico de la NASA. Soy Noelia González, del equipo de comunicación de NASA en español, y me acompaña el científico planetario Jerónimo Villanueva. Bienvenido, Jerónimo.
Hola a todos, es una alegría estar acá con ustedes.
Hoy tendrás la oportunidad de ver el eclipse solar desde tu casa con nosotros. Te transportaremos hasta Mazatlán, en el estado de Sinaloa, en México. Allí nuestro equipo Servi nos estará enviando imágenes en directo del eclipse. Mientras disfrutamos juntos de este espectáculo astronómico, vamos a ir conversando con Jerónimo sobre los eclipses, cómo ocurren, sus características y muchos otros aspectos. También vamos a ir contestando algunas preguntas que nos envíes. Podés mandarlas a través de redes sociales usando el hashtag PreguntaNASA o a través del chat de esta transmisión. Además, vamos a charlar con algunos invitados especiales y les mostraremos algunas de las maneras en las que pueden observar el eclipse de forma segura en caso de que estén dentro de la trayectoria del eclipse. En la pantalla ya podemos ver imágenes del eclipse desde Mazatlán, en México. La luna ya está pasando frente al sol, por lo que ya empezó la fase de parcialidad en esa región. Esperamos que la totalidad, el breve periodo de tiempo en el que la luna cubre por completo la cara de nuestra estrella, empiece en aproximadamente media hora. Nuestro equipo Servi del Centro de Investigación Ames de la NASA se encuentra a la costa de Mazatlán. Este es el primer lugar de Norteamérica continental en donde será visible el eclipse solar total. Desde ahí va a atravesar el norte de México, Estados Unidos y la costa este de Canadá. Nuestro programa va a abarcar el recorrido del eclipse sobre Mazatlán, pero quédense ahí porque al finalizar nuestra transmisión vamos a seguir mostrándoles imágenes del eclipse visto desde diferentes locaciones a lo largo de Estados Unidos.
Exacto, y como comentabas, Noelia, bueno, ya estamos viendo ahora desde el telescopio que tenemos en Mazatlán cómo la Luna empieza ya.
Me gusta el navegador Opera por su reproductor multimedia integrado. Siempre escucho música a la hora de estudiar.
Muy buenos días, señoras y señores, muy buenos días.
México presenció un espectacular eclipse solar que fue visible por completo en los Estados
Unidos. Astrónoma del Museo Interactivo de Osorno y además divulgadora científica. ¿Cómo estás, Jennifer?
El 2024 traerá eventos astronómicos imperdibles para los habitantes de América Latina, entre un eclipse total del Sol, el paso de un cometa y el espectacular anillo de fuego. ¿Quieres saber en qué época del año y dónde serán estos asombrosos espectáculos del espacio? Quédate viendo este video.
A lo largo del mes de agosto, se esperan varios eventos astronómicos como fases lunares, lluvias de estrella, superlunas y el movimiento de otros planetas alejados de la Tierra.
Un experto nos acompaña, el doctor Vladimir Ávila.
Y nos acompaña aquí en el estudio Ana Cristina Olverayes, periodista y divulgadora de la ciencia, precisamente.
Con el investigador del Instituto de Astronomía. En estos momentos nos vamos a conectar de la UNAM, José Franco. José, ¿cómo estás? Muy buenos días, muchas gracias por acompañarnos, bienvenido.
Muy buenos días, Juan Pablo, muy buenos días, Baitere, qué gusto hablar con ustedes.
Al contrario, muchas gracias, gracias por acompañarnos.
Bueno, pues efectivamente son 10:52, 10:55 es cuando inicia esta, pues digamos, interposición de la Luna con la luz que viene del Sol y la Tierra. Vamos a pues explicarle simple y llanamente a las personas que están ávidas de saber qué es lo que implica un eclipse total de Sol y lo que va a suceder ya en unos segunditos.
Mira, la Luna se interpone entre el Sol y nosotros y este es un proceso que dura cerca de 3 horas, poco menos de 3 horas, de cuando empieza el disco lunar a tapar el disco solar hasta
Choosing the right project management tool.
A research ship, something I actually quite like. So I feel very much at home in that role.
It's still blowing my mind. I mean, we're here in Cleveland, Ohio, live. You guys are up in space in the International Space Station. I can't believe the opportunity that has been afforded to us, and I hope our viewers really enjoyed this time with you. And I hope you enjoy the show from up there. All right.
We have, but we do want to close by saying, first of all, we really enjoy being here, but everybody stay safe and use the simple means to protect your eyes as you look at the eclipse, as Jeanette and I are modeling here, which makes us blind as a bat on the inside, but solar protected on the outside. So we encourage everyone to do the same.
Really great advice from both of them. Thank you so much. Sarah and I have our glasses,
right.
and we're
We
ready,
are ready
to go.
too.
Also blind if we don't do this. All right, again, Jeanette, Mike, thank you so much. And we actually have some time to take questions.
Nashville, Tennessee is in a partial eclipse, but there are some clouds around right now in Nashville that we're going to have to get rid of. Travis is hanging out in central Ohio. Very few clouds right now so far, and that's the key so far. Let's hope it stays that way. Starts at 1:54, so we're about to get that partial portion started in about 15 minutes in central Ohio. Totality just after 3 o'clock, pushing 3:10. So really, really cool stuff there. We'll see if we have some cameras coming in from central Ohio. Now, we've got a couple that will eventually come up from the Cleveland area and around Toledo, and both of those cities are in totality. So let me get you back to the actual eclipse. This is the first spot in North America that is going to, it is not freezing up on my end. So I would double check your connection because everything, the stream is healthy on our end. All right, we got some people from Arkansas waiting for totality. Let's check in on the clouds, and that's going to be on the bottom. You see me zooming in there. I have
by the eclipse. One DMC eye doctor has done extensive research on eye injuries directly from the eclipse because he sees
Yep. You're way ahead. These clouds, and maybe you get to see it entirely, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And we'll go back to Texas.
Yes, wonderful. Happy eclipse, everyone.
So many exciting things happening today, not just for the people across the path of totality. That's just a narrow band, across North America. So much of North America is actually experiencing a partial eclipse right now. And you know what? There are so many experiments. Like, for example, if you have household items like a colander or a cheese grater, you can, if you're underneath some partial eclipses, take a look how strange the shadows are at the moment. So here in Mazatlan, it's kind of hard to see, but here in Mazatlan, all right, up above us, as the clouds are clearing up, we're starting to see the partiality, and it's impacting, the way that shadows are being cast on the ground. And it's kind of hard to see here, but if you take a look at the shadow cast by the cheese grater that I've got on my hand, it's actually reflecting the eclipse. It looks like a shadow, the moon is taking a bite out of the sun. So, there's so much to do here. We're not just waiting for totality. We're really being excited about all of the things that everybody around the country can do at home safely and enjoy it with their friends, families, and so much more. All right. And with that, let's We're also at the moment. This is a testament to how fast weather moves in Texas. For example, just this morning it was completely clouded over with low-hanging clouds. You know, sort of not the ideal thing. Just a few meters behind us, a couple of blocks behind us, clouds are covering, but then the sun keeps speaking out. So you know, there's just so much high hopes here, and we'll see how it goes. And that's probably happening all across North America right now. Lots of positive vibes. And so with that, let's take a look at how the rest of North America is preparing for their moment with the solar eclipse. Hello and welcome back here in Mesquite, Texas. Joining me now to dive into Solar Eclipse 101 is Leslie Barnhill, science educator at the Mesquite Planetarium. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. So tell us at first, about the 4 phases of the eclipse. What are people looking forward to? What can they pay attention to?
Okay, well, there are 4 to 5 phases of the eclipse. We actually call them contacts. The first contact is when the moon comes in contact with the sun. That's when you start to see the moon's black disk come in front of the sun, and it's actually happening right now here in Mesquite. The second contact, or the second phase, is right before totality, and that's when the moon is almost completely in front of the sun, and you can see some really fantastic things like Bailey's beads, which are little beads of light coming from outside of the moon, as well as a diamond ring. And these are all little pieces of light that are coming from the sun through the moon's uneven surface with all the craters. So wherever the sun's coming in, we've got craters on the moon, and they are creating these beads or this diamond. And that happens right during second contact. Then is totality, when it's completely dark, hopefully, if skies are clear, and that here is going to last a little bit over 4 minutes. And then our third contact is when it's similar to the second contact. It's when the moon starts to move away from the sun, and you may have the opportunity to see those Bailey's beads and that diamond ring. And then finally, the last fourth contact is when the moon is completely away from the sun, and it's over.
It's over. And we're expecting that to be about 3 hours total for most places, right?
Correct, yes. And we've got some clear skies, and we've already seen first contact, so I'm fingers crossed.
For those in the path of totality where there's a break in cloud cover or are lucky enough to have clearer skies, what can they expect of their experience?
In totality, if we have completely clear skies, we can see some amazing things. First of all, the whole sky is going to darken to not just cloud cover, but completely night. With a cool thing that I have yet to see is a 360-degree sunset. So where usually we see a sunset on one side of the Earth when the sun goes down, since the eclipse happens, we should see a sunset around the whole horizon wherever you're at. That's if clear skies. If we do have clear skies, we should be able to see some of the sun's corona, which is the atmosphere around the sun, and that's right at totality. We should be able to see 2 of the 7 other planets in the sky. Most of the planets will be out, but 2 should be visible, and that's going to be Jupiter, that's going to be to the left of the solar eclipse, and then Venus, which is going to be to the right of the solar eclipse. Also, we should be able to see the comet. If you have a magnified view, filtered view, like binoculars with a proper filter on it, you'll see a comet that's going to be close to Jupiter. It's called 12P, and some people are calling it the Devil's Comet or the Mother of Dragons. Exciting. And then also there's some stars and some constellations that clear skies you might be able to see. The Orion main stars, Betelgeuse and Rigel. You might be able to see Aldebaran, which is part of the Taurus constellation, as well as Capella, which is part of the Auriga constellation, which is the goat herder, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh my God, that's phenomenal. I feel like you'd be really lucky if you were stood next to an amateur astronomer or any educator near you. So if you're in a place where you're watching with a watch party, go find the scientists in the space, the educators. They've got a lot to share. Now, I know that there's a lot of scientific words being thrown around. Can you just share what is the difference between what is called a penumbra and the umbra?
Okay, the penumbra and the umbra, they are different parts of a shadow. And since the solar eclipse is dealing with 3 spheres, you've got the sun, the moon, and the earth. All of them are rotating. All of them are orbiting. We're pretty much primarily looking at the moon and the sun orbiting. The shadow cast, the darkest shadow cast, is called the umbra, and that's the shadow that will give you a total solar eclipse. A penumbra is a little bit more diffused. You got a little bit of light, but it is still a dark shadow, and that'll give you a partial solar eclipse. What's cool about this, a total solar eclipse, is the umbra has to actually, the tip of the shadow has to hit the earth, and that usually only happens when the moon is close enough to the earth, because the moon's orbit is not a complete circle. Sometimes it's a little bit closer to it, sometimes it's a little bit further. So that's why we're going to see a total solar eclipse, and it's going to be longer.
So I've also heard that because the moon is closer Is it because it's closer to the planet or further away from the planet that we're getting a longer time of totality than in 2017?
Yes, it's because it's a little bit closer to it. It's in its perigee, which means it's closer. Its apogee means it's further. And an apogee will give you an annular eclipse, which we had back in October. But it's close enough for that tip to hit Earth, and it's even a little bit more closer to have our path wider and giving us the longer totality.
And now, any last words about safety? Because I know everyone's been talking about how important safety when viewing the eclipse is, not just during totality, but especially wherever you are where you're seeing partial eclipses. So, any words?
Yes, please, please, please wear your glasses when it is not a total solar eclipse. I tend to be on the safe side just because I have some older eyes and I want to save my eyes. You have the potential to have temporary or permanent blindness if you stare at the sun, even during the partial part of the eclipse. And it could cause things like blindness, it could cause things like distorted view, or even color changes. If you have any of those during this eclipse, please go see your eye doctor because it's very important. You can take your glasses off during totality, but I kind of err on the side of caution. Wait until it is completely totality. If you're in the path of totality, you know the time. So go by your watch, wait a couple of seconds after it starts, and plenty of seconds before, put your glasses back on so you don't run that risk. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks,
Leslie.
Kyle. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, folks. We've got some. We have a lot of people already looking up at the eclipse because the sun is peeking out. Seriously, the weather here is just changing moment by moment, so we really don't know what's going to happen next. There's a lot of things to look forward to, but especially right now in Mazatlan, they're really closing in on the moment of totality. And you know what? It's the very first spot on North America, on the continent, where the umbra, the moon's shadow, is touching down. So we want to give you a special chance to take a look at it. Just listen to the experience of folks watching on the ground. So we'll come back after that. But for now, please enjoy the view from Mazatlan, Mexico.
Sigan proyectando sombras, sigan sintiendo, sigan teniendo atención a los detalles, a lo que está pasando. Esas nubes probablemente esperemos que se puedan retirar en el momento en que ocurra la totalidad. ¿Sí? Hay unos fenómenos muy interesantes con la atmósfera, porque va a pasar que la luna va a bloquear al sol y al bajar la temperatura puede ser que esas nubes se disipen. ¿Vale? No es absolutamente seguro, pero vamos a ver. Okay, estamos cerca. Sientan el eclipse. Ya casi.
Mi mamá en lugar de la habitación de la azotea. Yo le vi la parte de su hermana. Sinaloa. Nos mandaron información a los medios, no pero siguen mandando. Rosario, Concordia. Aquí en Mazatlán es su totalidad. Y allá es Rosario, Concordia, Napa. O sea, ya saben, por el lado. Allá no va a ser su totalidad. No es cierto ni nada. Yo también saludé.
Estamos cerca, faltan 7 minutos para la totalidad. ¿Preparados? Ya casi, ya casi.
All right, folks, the weather might be iffy in many parts of North America today, but if you're lucky to have clear skies or a break in the clouds, there are some fun activities you can do at home to safely experience the partial and total solar eclipse. Now, here with me is Julie Greer, one of Mesquite's volunteer educators, to show us ways we can view the eclipse if you don't have eclipse glasses. So, welcome, Julie.
Hi, thank you.
So why don't you show us a little bit of the demos that people can do at home?
Okay, so one of the fun things, if you happen to be able to stand under a tree, you can look through the branches and you'll see the shadow and the different phases of the eclipse through the branches. So that's an easy one. And we're lucky enough that the sun is coming out. One of the other things that we've put together is a punch card, and you can hold it with the sun at your back on a shadow, and you can see the phases of the eclipse. Even though you see a square, a circle, and a triangle, when the sun is actually shining through it with the phases, you'll see the phases on the ground or even on your hand. So it's really neat to see the different phases through that.
So these are really handy, especially for young kids who, can't really wear the glasses perfectly on their faces, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the main things is you don't want to look into the sun. So even most houses have a colander, so you can even show a colander on the ground, again, with the sun at your back, and you can see, the phases through the holes in the colander. So one of the fun things that we've been doing at our booth is actually making a pinhole viewer, and it's super simple with cardboard, foil, and so you've cut the view part of it and you fold the foil over it. This is so easy. And then you take a toothpick. Sorry.
It's live TV, folks.
And then you just poke a hole in through the foil.
Just a small hole.
Just a small hole, a round hole, and again you'll see the shadow of the eclipse on the paper, on the cardboard.
That's fantastic. What are like things that like this is one of my favorite activities, like looking at the shadows. What gadgets at home can people like pull out of their kitchen or anything else?
So a cereal box, you can make a pinhole viewer out of a cereal box. I actually pulled this one off my refrigerator this morning. So, and again, you do it the same way with poking a hole in it and holding it up to the sun so you can see the shadow on the ground. We've got the tree branches is a good one, and the colander is an easy one to pull out of your kitchen.
Okay, how are you feeling about the weather here in Texas today?
I am so excited that the sun is coming out. It's a little bit humid, but we're used to that in Texas. We have every little, phase of the weather, but the sun is out, so people are starting to look up. It's really fun to see the different faces already.
And as an educator, how are you feeling about people's reactions to the eclipse, to the science, to the things that they can do?
It's been really fun. We've been talking about how the animals are going to react, and is it safe to leave your dogs outside, and how the birds are going to quit chirping because they think it's nighttime. And so it's been fun to Google and research some of that.
What has been like the biggest question people typically ask of you?
A lot of them are, why can't I just look up the sun? Why can't they, and so you get a sunburn if you sit out in the sun too long. So imagine looking directly at the sun with your eyes and the damage that it can do to your retinas. And it's not even something that you'll notice right away. It may be something that you notice a day or two later that you sunburned your eyes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for joining us. We really appreciate it. And now I think we're going to throw it back to the views in Mazatlan and maybe or elsewhere around the country. So.
¿Estuviste de Colombia? Yo de Mazatlán, soy locutora de Africana. Ustedes son los turistas de Colombia, ¿verdad? No. Yo no soy turista de Colombia. Tú eres la colombiana. Después te voy a hacer una pregunta.
más estrella. Es un planeta. ¿Lo vieron? Otro más. A la izquierda. Miren al horizonte. Vean cómo parece que amanece y todo el horizonte está iluminado.
Bueno, vamos. Oye, Karen, ese puntico.
15 segundos para el fin de la totalidad. Hay que dejar de mirar cuando yo les dé la señal.
Una pequeña mordidita, el puntito ya se está desplazando y empieza a verse el anillo de fuego.
¡Se acaba la totalidad!
Nos colocamos los lentes, visores, ya no es seguro observar el sol.
Ok, ahora continúa la segunda parcialidad. De aquí y hasta las 12:32 vamos a tener el fenómeno inverso. La luna se va a ir retirando hasta que a las 12:32 volvamos a tener el mismo sol de todos los días. El eclipse haya terminado y tengamos que esperar otros 3 siglos para volver a presenciar esto. Muchas gracias a todos.
seen that? Did you see, you know, the eclipse touching down on Mazatlan all day today, this morning? Just the earliest forecasts were cloudy and potentially rainy, and just then you could see just how quickly the weather changes, you know, just in time for that moment of totality. And even after totality, that moment when you know, the diamond effect came in through, the Bailey's beads were peeking through, like, it just is so exciting, and I am living vicariously through them right now as the clouds start to cast a shadow on us instead of the moon. But you know what? There's just so much more excitement to be had, because we're gonna head over to Carbondale, Illinois. Again, the weather's been so changeable throughout the path of totality, but sometimes, look, you just never know, right? Total solar eclipses happen every few years or so, especially like where you know, it's usually on somewhere else like the South Pacific. So this is a really special thing that we are hitting so many people around this North America, this continent. So you know what? We're gonna head over to hear more from a citizen scientist setting up their solar eclipse experiments out in Carbondale, Illinois. Let's take a look.
Eclipse Broadcasting Initiative, and it's a joint venture between NASA and Southern Illinois University here in Carbondale, Illinois.
And what is your role in the study? What are you doing as a citizen scientist?
Well, you said it. I'm a citizen scientist. I was recruited. I'm an alumni here from Southern Illinois University, and they contacted me prior to the annular eclipse, which we had last October, and asked me to record that from my home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I kept the equipment, and then they asked if I might join them here in Carbondale. So I drove 2.5 days from Santa Fe and ended up here with all of this gear that you see in front of me to capture data of the solar eclipse that's happening today.
Your background is in the motion picture industry. You do not have a background as a scientist. How did you end up doing this?
That's correct. I worked in the motion picture business for about 25 years, and so I know cameras, but I don't know telescopes. So when they sent all of this to me, I had never operated a telescope. I had never operated a mount like this. Certainly I've used a computer, but all of the software was new to me as well. So there was a bit of a learning curve. However, I think that my experience, and boy, the crowd is really getting into it right now. I hope you can hear me. There's a countdown going on. But all of my experience in the movie business did help, and it prepared me to really figure out how to work this gear and get the data that NASA needed.
What is it about your experience capturing the annular eclipse in October that caught your imagination and made you want to continue?
Well, it really was something else. I didn't know what to expect. I had never been through a total eclipse, totality, or annular. Annular, of course, is when the moon only covers a portion of the sun, not quite the entirety of the disk. And it still was a very interesting, some people say it's a magical time. The sky gets dark, obviously, but there in Santa Fe, a breeze came up. It got remarkably cooler. I had to put on a sweater. It was October anyway, but still, when the sun was covered up, it's amazing how much energy we lose here on the Earth when it's darkened like that. And we saw the effect of that. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing that here when the entire disk is obscured by the moon. This should be really cool to see in another half an hour, 45 minutes from now.
What exactly are you doing here? You're on the football sidelines. You got a bunch of cameras and telescopes. What exactly are you measuring?
Well, NASA's going to have to tell me what they're using my data for. I really don't quite know what they're doing with the special files that I'm capturing using this material here, this small telescope. There's a mono camera here that records in black and white. I do have my other gear here, my DSLR over here. I've got one behind me that's shooting a wide angle. I've got the stadium in the background for that. And I'm capturing different phases of the eclipse as it happens to that camera. So when I get home, I'm going to take my images here and from the other camera, and I'm going to put them through Photoshop, and I'm going to make a nice collage of that. And in addition to that, I'm going to download the data for NASA, send it back here to Bob Baer at SIU, who's overseeing the project for the university. And I'm going to have to rely on them to tell me what they find in the data that I collect. I'm not that smart.
What do you expect to experience during Totality? I mean, this is new for all of us.
Yeah, it really is. I know it's going to get cold. I hope I can see my equipment to be able to operate it, because it's going to get very, very dark very quickly. For 4 minutes, we're going to be experiencing that. I hope that we can hear the environment around us. I hope that we can hear the birds come out and start chirping and behaving differently. That happened when I was in Santa Fe with the annular eclipse a little bit. So I'm expecting more of that, only amped up because of the Totality event today.
Great, thank you so much, Robert Dennis, and let's enjoy some more pictures from the eclipse.
Very good, thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to be joined by Javen Gonzalez, Mesquite representative, to tell us a bit about how things are feeling here in Texas. Javen, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about Mesquite, Texas.
So in Mesquite, we're known as the rodeo capital of Texas, so we sit just right outside of Dallas.
Okay, yeah. And how has being on the path of Totality affected the community, local businesses? What were you feeling here?
So there's a lot of energy here in Mesquite, just from like a lot of local businesses, the volunteers downtown. They were really excited. We started planning for this a year ago, so we felt like the community is really well prepared for what's happening and all the visitors that we have.
And Mesquite and many other communities along the path of Totality hosted full weekend-long eclipse festivities, and you guys were among those. How did you roll out the red carpet for, the local folks and the visitors?
Sure, so we actually kicked it off in the most Mesquite way we could. So it's the 66th annual rodeo parade happened here in Mesquite. So we have it every year, but this year it was solar eclipse themed. So that's kind of what kicked off the festivities. We met with all of our hotels. We offered them glasses. We had a lot of international visitors who reached out to us in advance. So we kind of prepared their vacation plans and where to go while they're here.
And where are some of the people coming in from?
We have people from Copenhagen, we have people from Spain, England, Mexico, several different states. So I just talked to some people from California and Arizona, so all over the place.
That's fantastic. So I've heard, like you said, that Mesquite is really well known for their rodeo. I'm wondering, how are you hoping to keep the momentum up, the energy and, the excitement up after the eclipse?
Well, and one of the reasons why we called our Eclipse Weekend the Solar Rodeo was to kind of go back into that, because we want this to have a positive impact on our community, not just for this weekend, but for the future. I know a lot of people who have been here have been talking about, we want to go to the rodeo now that we found out that you guys are the rodeo capital, and they've driven past the arena. So we're really hoping to capture those. We've been doing a lot of incentives to follow us on social media and come back.
And any things that you're doing with like the schools or the students and things like that?
Yeah, so we've been working with our local school district here since the very beginning. They're one of our big partners on this. So they have prepared all schools, so all staff, all students will have classes for today. They have lesson plans ready for today, and so all the kids are going out and observing. I'm sure they're out right now taking a look.
Were the schools closed today? It's Monday, or were they going on?
Schools are in session. Yeah, schools are in session here in Mesquite.
Any last thoughts? The weather, it keeps changing minute by minute. You're seeing it live there. Clouds are coming in, clouds are parting. We don't know what we're going to expect in 20 minutes. Any thoughts or any words of encouragement for everybody else who are also on the path of totality, possibly experiencing the same thing?
Good vibes. It's been blowing here off and on. The clouds have broken away and it gets really sunny and the clouds come back. So we're hoping that here in the next 20 minutes it's clear.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Javen. And I hope things look up.
Thank you.
So we are going to have a look at all of the events that are still going on across Mexico, the U.S., and Canada. So stay tuned, take a look at our feed. If you need to find out about the latest updates and stories from around the country, you